I'm just gonna cut to the chase on this one. The Powerpuff Girls 2016 is one of the few shows out there that makes me feel legitimately unclean. A lot of shows I've reviewed in the past, I've been too angry, getting shouty and ranty for no good reason. However, every so often, there's a show that I feel that I should have been much harsher on. And the Powerpuff Girls reboot is one of the most prime examples in my mind. So please excuse me if I get a little bit ranty in this segment. This show disgusts me in ways that Seth MacFarlane only wishes he could. Remember the episode that I reviewed, Painbow? It had 6-year-old girls twerking, and twerking is generally known as a very sexual dance. A lot of people commented on my original video basically saying that, nuh-uh, twerking is actually based on an African fertility dance, and I'm all like, you do know what fertility means, right? Well, if you don't know, it kinda has something to do with sex. Well, after that, after everyone complained about the show having 6-year-old girls twerking, do you know what the show did? They brought Allegro back in another episode called Somewhere Over the Swing Set. And then, after everyone and their grandmother complained about the twerking and explained why it was incredibly perverted for this show to do, this show had these 6-year-old girls twerk again in another episode. They did it again. Yeah. In the episode Once Upon a Townsville, we had an adult princess giving a prolonged kiss on the mouth to Buttercup, once again a child, and it's something that went on. And then we had the infamous Jared Shapiro incident. What the show did was took the likeness of a writer, gave him a similar name to the writer, and then made him a love interest in the show. They made the character insert of an adult the love interest of a child. I'm sure I'm not the only one who sees a problem with this, which is good, but it's very, very worrying that no one on the show staff saw that this was a problem. This is a very specific kind of bad. This is not only a thing that grown-ass adults shouldn't do, this is the kind of thing that you shouldn't have to tell grown-ass adults that they should not do. This goes beyond common sense. I didn't think we needed to have this meeting before we started writing, but you probably should not put pedophilic implications into your show. That's not even lesson 1. It's not even lesson 0. This is something that normal people tend to understand that we shouldn't do. And that makes me very, very concerned. I'm not saying that anyone behind the show is a pedophile, let me make that very clear, but even in that case, there's a problem. The problem is that they clearly didn't think jack shit when they went into writing this one. I'll fully admit that I've been too harsh on unfortunate implications of the past, but these are some of the most blatant, forefront, unfortunate implications that I've ever seen, where you have to be a specific kind of dense to not see them. And when everyone, literally everyone tells you that this is a bad idea, and you not only stick to your guns by doing this, but you do it worse, it means you're a special kind of dense. And you want to know what the worst part of all of this is? That alone would probably put this show on my list, but the pedophilic implications are like only a cherry on top of the sundae with how bad Powerpuff Girls 2016 is. A lot of terrible cartoon reboots came out in the 2010s that completely missed the point of the original, but Powerpuff is the worst of them all. Hell, I'd even take that terrible Ghostbusters reboot over this trash fire of a show. Because Powerpuff Girls 2016 has all of the bad aspects of the 2010s, with none of the good aspects. This show clearly wanted to cash in on the whole idea of girl power, a common selling point in the 2010s. It tries to put forward a progressive message, but it trips over its high heels as it goes through the starting gate, a common failing of girl power shows in the 2010s. But this one does it especially badly. For example, I've never seen a show that claimed to be feminist actively despise the female anatomy. You remove Miss Keene's breasts, and then you sent away Miss Bellum because hers were too big. May I ask why? Oh, that's right, because Miss Bellum isn't a message that you wanted to give to little girls. You want them to be ashamed of the bodies that they might grow into. Completely understood. This show is disgusting. I've said that before, but I have to keep saying it. Not only is this show disgusting, it's disgusting in the worst morally abhorrent ways. Girl power! Our heroes are constantly bickering terrible people, and they constantly get captured, needing to be rescued by the men, including the mayor on multiple occasions. This is even ignoring the fact that this is a reboot. What the fuck did you do to any of these characters? Disrespect? No, I don't think disrespect begins to describe it. You ever hear that conspiracy about The Last Jedi that the guy behind it just wanted to destroy the Star Wars franchise? I don't know if I believe that, but I'd believe that here. This show feels very much like intentional sabotage. It feels very much like the people behind the show hated the Powerpuff Girls and just wanted to destroy it by any means necessary. Oh my god, the professor. Why? Why is he like this? Why is he the stupidest character I've ever seen? Actually, you know what? Don't answer that. I know the answer. 'Cause girl power. And in girl power shows, we gotta make every male authority figure an idiot. Am I somewhere in the ballpark? Or did you just think this cliched-ass joke was funny? Who is this show even for? It assumes that you watch the original using set pieces and plot points from the original, and not giving any introductions to them, but then it shits all over the original. Was this show meant to be hated? because every single decision into the show makes me hate it more. Like, turning down the original voice actresses for the Powerpuff Girls. And then there was that whole incident with Donnie. I wanted to believe that it was the network's idea to say that a horse turning into a monster was a metaphor for being a trans person, but these are the people who thought it would be cool to have a character look like an adult with a similar name of an adult be an object of affection of a child. And you know what? Let's put aside the implications of Jared Shapiro for a minute. If you can, because it's some of the most disgusting implications that I've ever seen in any show ever. I understand that it's a very, very difficult task to do, but Jared Shapiro gets even worse even if you take all that out. You guys have some serious fucking balls to do something like that in a reboot. You took a character that people loved and adored, and then you made a self-insert character of yourself to have that character be a love interest. Jesus Christ, people, have some fucking tact! A lot of reboots could be described as mistakes were made. Mistakes were made could be the theme song to this one, and it would be better than the theme song it actually has. Which, yes, I did consider for my top 20 worst theme songs list. This show is meant to be a cash-in on the Powerpuff Girls' popularity. Congratulations, Cartoon Network, I never want anything to do with this franchise ever again. At least with Teen Titans Go, I can enjoy the original, and it's not going to have much an effect on the future. Powerpuff Girls 2016 has tainted the franchise for me forever. And now I can't think of this franchise without getting skeeved out. Congratulations. Breadwinners. Hey, remember when I said that this was the worst cartoon that I've ever seen? It was funny back then. It's not funny no more. God, I wish that this was the worst cartoon that I've ever seen, instead of only barely qualifying for an honorable mention at this point. If you're wondering, there are like 30 cartoons now worse than Breadwinners. For example, Sanjay and Craig. It's bad. It's gross. It has nothing redeemable. And yes, for the last time, I have seen The Giving G. It was melodramatic and terrible, and it does not redeem a show that spent a whole episode with Sanjay naked in a lake. And that's not even touching the episode Unbarfable, which is probably in the top 10 of the most disgusting episodes that I've ever seen. That one episode is literally adult party cartoon bad. And yet, Sanjay and Craig doesn't manage to be as bad as The Adventures of Kid Danger. The only reason that this show isn't on the list is because Powerpuff Girls 2016 is, and they're more or less the same fucking show. Powerpuff Girls 2016 is only on the list instead of Kid Danger because it killed a franchise that I actually cared about. But if you really want to, consider it a tie for number 4. Monsters vs. Aliens. I've spent more time on this one sentence than they did actually making the fucking cartoon. Next. Neo Yokio. Hey, did you guys know that they animated Jaden Smith's Twitter account? Well, they did, and now there's Toblerones for everyone! Fleabag Monkey Face. This was going to be on the list until I realized that to say anything more about it would be about 100 times more effort than this show deserves. Fleabag Monkey Face is already a black hole of effort, and it doesn't deserve any more of my time or anyone else's. Teen Titans Go. This is actually not a dishonorable mention on this list. It's not even bad enough to be considered on a list like this. I'm only mentioning it here because people would be asking about it if I didn't. Now keep in mind, I don't like this show. I still think that it's bad, like 4 out of 10 bad. And not only do I not like this show, but not only that, but I think the original Teen Titans Go hate is kind of getting too much hate now. But when you get down to it, Teen Titans Go is harmless, especially to other cartoon reboots, such as The Magic School Bus Rides Again. This one I really wanted to review, and I still might get to. In terms of bare bones reboots, this might have been the worst of them all. So many questionable choices. And not to mention, if the original cartoon was animated better than your remake that came out 30 years later, you have a problem. You wanna hear a funny story about this one though? When the trailer first came out, it was hated beyond all belief. So basically someone at Netflix was like, oh my god, this thing is getting so much hate. We have to do something to stop this. How do we get people to shut up about the Magic School Bus Rides Again? And then the other guy was like, I don't know, what exactly do we do? I don't know, just do anything. I got something that might take the attention off of the Magic School Bus Rides Again. Border Town! And here we have a show by someone who tries doing things way too often. This show is often seen as a Seth MacFarlane show. It's not. He was just a producer, but he didn't actually create it. But whether or not he had any direct involvement, it's clearly just another Seth MacFarlane show, with the same basic setup and the same basic style of humor and the same lack of reason for existing. Legend of Chamberlain Heights. This is another show that I don't even want to dignify. It's not on this list because it shouldn't qualify for this list. I mean, it's the worst animation of the 2010s. This is not an animation. This is a mess. Any success that this one had was clearly AstroTurf. I remember you advertising on my channel. I don't mind networks advertising their cartoons on my channel, it's probably the best place for them to advertise, but if you're gonna do that, at least have the decency to be decent. No, instead the show just got 2 seasons because a little trick that networks like to do. They ask for 1 season's worth of episodes, and then they split it into 2 seasons, just to say that the show is popular enough to warrant 2 seasons. This is a trick that's becoming more and more popular so networks can boast in some stupid dick measuring contest. Bless the heart! And that's 95% of the reason that the Problem Solvers is on the list, and this high up. Problem Solvers is a visual atrocity. It has so many colors and so many flashing lights that it could legitimately either cause seizures or some kind of vision problem. To say that it's an eyesore would be a disservice to the problem here. And I came to thinking, was that really justification for putting it this high on the list? I mean, I do hate the Powerpuff Girls a lot more than this show, but then I really thought about it. The Powerpuff Girls was a show that didn't think through its implications, and in turn it had a bunch of pedophilic undertones. I mean, that is incredibly bad, but when you get down to it, the worst thing about it is that it makes the showrunners either look like idiots or perverts. This show has the same problem. It didn't think things through. The difference is that this time that they didn't think things through, it could have caused seizures in their viewers. Someone, somewhere, had to have said that this was a bad idea. Even if everyone who worked on the show was brain dead, the network must have said something. They would be responsible if something happened. It's been a while since Electric Soldier Porygon, but what happened there, exaggerated or not, is still fresh in everyone's minds. The kind of visuals in this show could be considered legitimately dangerous. And the sad part is, even when you get beyond the visuals, the show is garbage. The character designs are ugly, at least the original ones from the show. One of the characters is basically Domokun, and he's the guy that they made most unlikable. And if the visuals aren't bad enough, the voices do not help. This is the kind of show that exists for no other reason than to assault your senses. It's like going to a hard rock concert without actually getting the experience of hearing a band live, just screaming and flashing strobe lights. If this show could smell, it would smell like rotten eggs and sulfur because it thought it smelled like perfume, and it would get a reaction out of its audience. This kind of cluelessness is really unforgivable. I don't think you should need a license or anything to create art, but I do think that you should have some basic common sense. If it wasn't for the seizure-inducing visuals, I think the show would be garbage, but it probably wouldn't be one of the worst of the decade. There's just way too much competition in that world. But some shows just have that one special niche that they just go all out on.
So I